This next man takes on Robbie Lawler next weekend in a fight that fans cannot wait to see. The UFC interim welterweight champion. There's so much going on in his division. We've decided to have an exclusive bonus interview this week outside the program just to get his take on everything. Colby Covington, welcome back to Submission Radio. Look at this. Look at this setup. Look at this shot. It just says everything about what's about to happen next weekend. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's always a pleasure to talk to my boys from down under.
That's right. The pleasure is all ours, man. Just got to ask, what exactly are you wearing right now? Because from where we're sitting right now, it looks like you're wearing nothing but the UFC title. No underwear, no nothing.
That's probably a little bit similar, but I threw on some underwear. You know, I just got done doing some cardio rounds in the bedroom. So as you can tell, Raw American Steel and Twisted Sex Appeal is ready to go.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world of MMA, Colby. And before we get to the welterweight division, just want to get your thoughts on this new Jon Jones legal news that came out earlier this week. You put up a tweet addressing the news, but for the people that haven't seen it, tell us, what did you think of the report that you saw? Obviously, people don't know you've got a bit of a history with Jon Jones. You guys used to room together a long time ago. What was your reaction when you saw there were more issues for Jon?
I wasn't surprised, but, you got to look at it at one side. He's done a lot of stupid things in the past, but he's making progress. He didn't actually hit a lady when he was intoxicated and then flee from the scene. He didn't have two hookers in the back of his car and wrap his Bentley around a pole. So we got to be thankful that he's making a lot of progress in his career and in his social life. So, big shout out to my boy, my good buddy and former roommate, Jon Jones.
Well, I'm sure Jon Jones will appreciate the support, Colby. I'm just wondering, you obviously sent out that tweet, as typical, it was a hilarious tweet. The other week we were speaking to Jon's rival, Chai Lewis Parry, and he spoke to us about how Jon Jones would DM him sometimes in the middle of the night. And obviously you've sort of had quite a few things to say about Jon Jones over the last few years. Has Jon ever DM'd you or said anything about, some of the things that you've said or some of the tweets that you've put out?
He's never DM'd me, but, he's went on Twitter and went on little rants before and, just tried to, say what he wants, act like he's a good little Christian boy. He's so delusional, man. He's out there acting like he's something that he's not. And it's just like, just be yourself, man. You're a piece of shit. You're a dirtbag. You're a steroid user. You're a cheat. You're this and that. You cheat on your wife. You're not a good husband. You're not a good dad. You're really not good at anything besides the fact that you were made in a lab. So I just wish you'd be honest. I live with him, man. I live in the same room as him. We shared a bunk bed together. So I know the ins and outs of that dude. And I just wish he'd stop being fake and just be real.
I think one of the things people can't wait for is one of those days when they have one of those huge press conferences and, you'll be one of the champions there and he'll be there. Do you think it'll be funny if you'll be in a situation sort of seated together at a media event in the future and then you can sort of let him know what you think about him with all the people there. I suppose it's one of those rivalries that everybody wants to see you guys sort of in a room together.
Absolutely, man. I look forward to the day that me and Jon Jones are reunited at last, ever since those college days. So we're going to have a good talk and I look forward to it, man. I embrace it. So you won't see me running away from it. I look forward to seeing him eye to eye and looking him in the face and telling him how I really feel. And hopefully he'll get to his act together. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to be a good friend for him, man. I'm trying to wisen him up. All those filthy scum that he has around him, like the Kawa brothers, man, those guys are just leading him down the wrong path. So, he should realize that I'm a good friend. I'm trying to help him. I'm trying to better his future so he doesn't make the same mistakes again.
There's obviously a lot of things we want to speak to you about, Colby. Of course, your fight with Robbie Lawler, but you mentioned friends. One of the big things we wanted to get your thoughts on, because we haven't had you on the show since it happened, is, of course, your good friend Jorge Masvidal's crazy knockout over Ben Askren at UFC 239. Just sort of take us back to a couple of weeks when that happened. What was your reaction to the way that fight played out? What did you think about it?
My reaction was I'm super happy for my best friend Jorge Masvidal. I trained him for that moment. I couldn't have had him more ready for that moment, training, wrestling with him for the last 8-9 years, living with him. So, I'm just thankful that he came out and he did what he said he was going to do. Everything that we worked on, he went out there and did it. So, he was on the brink of losing his job last year on a 2-fight losing streak, and now he's on a 2-fight winning streak. So I'm super proud for him. He's finally, back in the top 5, and he's one fight away from fighting for a title. And, I'm very happy for him. I couldn't be more happy for him, as best friends, that's why I had to go when he lost to Demian Maia, I really took that as a chip on my shoulder, and I wanted to get that one back for him. So, when he lost to Demian Maia, I had to go out there and leave Demian Maia in a pool of his own blood in his home city. That was the only way I was going to get vengeance for my best friend, Jorge.
What was your takeaway? Obviously, you want to talk about Jorge in a second, but what was your takeaway sort of on Ben Askren? Because he's a guy that a lot of people were sort of curious how he would do in the UFC. He's 2 fights in now. What was your big takeaway about him, and what did you sort of learn based on that fight?
I learned everything that I was saying about him the whole time. He's overhyped. He's got a padded record. He hasn't beat anybody. And then he comes over to the UFC. Look, he's 0-2. I think Dana needs to give him his walking papers, man. The guy can't win a fight. He's old. He's a 36-year-old Napoleon Dynamite looking virgin. He needs to go back to being a little science school teacher nerd, because that's all he's ever going to be good at is acting like he's smart or something. Because he's always, what's funny? He's always giving me shit about, Colby's IQ, this and that. We need to go get his IQ checked after getting knocked down in 5 seconds, because I can guarantee it's in single digits.
A lot of people sort of wonder what's in the future for him, and Casper kind of touched on it just before in his last question, but is there any chance in your mind that you think he can bounce back and make his way back to, the top 5, the top 10 in the division, or do you think this is sort of the beginning of the end for Ben?
For sure, that's the end of Ben Askren. We're never going to hear a word out of Ben Askren again. I mean, the guy's irrelevant now. He can't even win a fight in the UFC. He was talking all this. He was beating a bunch of guys in Asian bingo halls and padding his record. He thought he was something special. But, he the whole time he was really just a joke. So we found out the real Ben Askren can't even win a fight in the UFC. He's not even going to be top 50 in the UFC, let alone top 10. So if he does come back, which I hope he doesn't, man. That kid has kids, which I know they're not his kids. He had to get those by, they're test tube babies. I don't know if you guys know that, but Ben Askren's still a virgin. Actually, you know what? He just lost his virginity. I forgot about that. Jorge, my best friend, popped his cherry 2 weeks ago. He finally popped his cherry. So I can't go on the narrative that Ben Askren is a virgin anymore. He's officially just a nerd. So, that's the end of Ben Askren. We're not going to hear another thing out of him. And he's irrelevant. He's not going to win another fight.
And just quickly, we saw Ariel Helwani tweeted out that Ben will be fighting Demian Maia next just recently. You fought Demian Maia. You know what Demian Maia is made of. How do you think that fight goes? Do you think Ben can win that fight with Demian Maia?
Nah, there's not a guy on the UFC roster that Ben can win, So I think Demian Maia will definitely just choke him out and submit him, and that'll be that. And if he doesn't choke him out, he'll just piece him up on the feet and beat him up, because we know that Ben Askren doesn't even know how to throw punches. And when he does throw punches, he can't hurt a fly, but that's a whole nother story in itself. He just comes out in every fight and puts his head straight down. So he's predictable, and on a guy like Demian Maia, that guy's literally the human python. So you put your head down like that, you're definitely going to get choked out. So I'll look forward to seeing Ben Askren go 0-3 in the UFC and Dana giving him his walking papers.
It was back to your best friend Masvidal. You mentioned that you helped train him for this moment and you guys worked together. Did you work with him in this training camp leading into Ben Askren? Because I guess a lot of people are wondering why you weren't one of the people that he sort of thanked after the fight for preparing him for that win.
He got caught up in the moment, and I don't need thanks, because, everybody knows how close of friends we are, and how far we go back in training. You can go and look on YouTube. There's training sessions where we grappled in the living room for an hour straight, and this is a couple years ago. We would get every chance to fight each other we could, whether it was in a bathroom, whether it was in the gym, and whether it was in the apartment, So now that we're getting close to fighting each other, it'd be an honor to fight each other, for a 7-figure paycheck. So, our paths are destined to cross, and it's only a matter of time.
I'm just wondering though, so you worked with him leading into this Ben Askren fight? You guys have been working together, or was there a point where you guys stopped working together because you knew there was a chance you'd be fighting each other soon?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I was really busy with my schedule in his last training camp. I was out helping the Marines, helping the Navy. I was gone for a couple weeks. I was doing a lot of travel in this camp, so I actually wasn't at the gym at all for the whole time he had this training camp. So I wasn't able to help him. But, before that, to win this belt, we worked a lot together with the Rafael Dos Anjos fight. Obviously, he was in my corner in that fight if you go back and watch. So, I'm always supporting him, man, no matter what. unless we're fighting each other, I'm more supporting him. I always have his back, and we go way back, and we share a lot of good history together.
I'm wondering if you sort of had a chat to Jorge since that win, and also you mentioned before that your paths are sort of destined to cross. It almost sounds like you're kind of bracing for the fact that you guys are probably going to fight soon. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say that's somewhat fair to say. We always talked about it that we'd only fight for the undisputed strap. So, obviously there's still some barriers that have to go through. I'm going to go beat Robbie Lawler August 3rd, and then I'm going to unify my title with Cameroon Marty Fake Newsman November 2nd in Madison Square Garden. So after I finish Marty Fake Newsman November 2nd in Madison Square Garden, then we cross that bridge and we talk about, having to fight each other. But he might have to go out there and win another fight to get to a title shot. He's only won 2 fights in a row. So there's still some barriers and hoops that have to be going through to happen for us to fight.
Because I'm curious about that situation. Obviously, you mentioned you're now a company man. Once again, your relationship with the UFC seems to be like it's better. And you took this fight with Robbie Lawler, a fight that a lot of people in the division probably wouldn't want to take. And also, you kind of took it on short notice on this card. So in a lot of ways, you're doing the company a favor. A lot of people felt like you should have gotten the next title shot to begin with. Has the UFC given you any confirmation that if you beat Robbie Lawler, you will 100% be getting that next title shot?
I mean, I don't really care about getting a title shot. As you guys can see right here, I got this nice piece of 20 pounds of gold. So I already got a title. Everybody knows I'm the real world champion. I'm America's champion. I'm the people's champion. So as the people's champion, I have to go out there and defend this belt. And if Marty Fake Newsman doesn't want to fight me, then I have to go to the next worthy contender, and that's ruthless Robbie Lawler. His accomplishments speak for itself. He's the greatest welterweight champion of all time besides myself. I mean, the guy's a fan favorite. He defended his title 3 or 4 times in 3 or 4 of the fight of the decade. So the guy's a legend, man. If you go ask on the streets who do they know at welterweight right now besides myself, every single fan is going to say that they know Robbie Lawler over anybody in the division. So I'm excited to give Robbie Lawler a title shot, and it's a big, massive fight. The guy's dangerous. I mean, obviously, Tyron Woodley's afraid of him because he doesn't want to fight him again. And Ben Askren's also afraid of him, which, those two conspired against the UFC to make sure that they never fought Robbie Lawler again. But, I'm excited, man. It's a big opportunity. It's on short notice, but, that's why I'm a company man. I'm a champ of the people. I fight for the people, and we got to go put on a show for the people in Newark, New Jersey, live on ESPN.
It's an interesting situation because obviously you're coming from the perspective of, look, I'm the champion and I'm defending my belt against Robbie Lawler. But there's also this storyline where Usman's manager, Ali, he doesn't like you. Usman doesn't like you. It seems like Ali doesn't want you to have the next title shot. And a lot of times when Ali tries to get something done in the UFC, we've seen it sort of happen. So what would your reaction be if you saw that you beat Robbie Lawler, but then you saw that Masvidal was fighting Usman instead of yourself because of the dislike that Ali and Usman have towards you?
The thing with that is, Ali Abdullah Sleaze is such a sleaze bag that, he knows that he's trying to protect his client. He knows that I'm the worst matchup for Marty Fake Newsman. He knows that Marty Fake Newsman has no chance to beat me. So, all that talk before that Marty was talking about, oh, I black out when I'm in a room with Colby. Oh, I have to do it for the wrath of the immigrants. And all that bullshit before that he was begging to fight me. Anytime he was trying to come up on his way up, he had to use my name. He had to chase clout by using the greatest welterweight of all time, Colby Chaos Covington's name. So, it's funny. Now he's got his little number 1 contender Power Ranger fake belt, and now he's nowhere to be heard from. He doesn't want to say my name because he's scared about what the consequences are now. So I think the people see the real truth. The guy's faking injuries. Look at him. He's like, oh, I would fight Colby, but I was in a wheelchair after my fight, blah, blah, blah. You never when he was getting hauled around in a wheelchair after his fight? Oh, what's funny is 12 hours later, he's jumping over the barriers, jumping over the buffet line to get in my face. So, and he was walking and running mighty healthy at the time. So, I think people see what he is right now. He's doing the Tyron Woodley tricks. He's trying to fake injuries and keep that belt as long as he can because he knows with that belt, that number 1 contender belt, that he can go get sponsors. He can get these little things where he goes to the UFC event and they pay him show money to show up for the little, the guest fighter shit. So he's just playing that up as long as he can. He knows once we cross paths, he's going to be left in a pool of blood, and he will get stretchered away from that octagon in a stretcher.
I absolutely want to see the two of you obviously get in the octagon and fight. I guess the crazy thing, Colby, is that at this point, the welterweight division is just as stacked as it's ever been. There's arguably almost a logjam at the top of the division. You've got your good friend Masvidal coming off that great win. You've got yourself fighting Robbie Lawler. And then you've got also Leon Edwards, who just beat Rafael dos Anjos this past weekend. What did you think of his fight, if you got a chance to watch it?
I've never heard that name, to be honest, in my life. I didn't even see the fight. I was too busy with my mamacitas over the weekend. I'm going to put out a picture tomorrow for you guys on Instagram, what I was doing over the weekend. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So make sure you tune into my Instagram tomorrow, Colby Covington, and you get to see a little behind the curtains action, what Colby Chaos Covington was doing over the weekend to prepare for Robbie Lawler.
Wow. We can't wait to see it. Because you haven't seen it, the situation is that Leon Edwards, he's on an 8-fight win streak, but he's got this situation with Masvidal, your best friend Masvidal. They got in this fight backstage. Now he's on this 8-fight win streak. He's sort of talking about how him and Jorge should fight next. Do you think, because obviously you're fighting Lawler, it looks like you'll get the next title shot. Do you think that makes sense for Leon Edwards to fight Masvidal in the meantime while you figure everything out up the top of the division?
To be honest, I honestly don't know who the guy is, and I don't pay attention to anybody but myself. I'm only focused on what I do, and that's win. So the Great American Winning Machine's only focused on what's ahead of him, and that's ruthless Robbie Lawler and then Marty Fake Newsman in November 2nd in Madison Square Garden to unify this title. So I could care less what the jobbers of the division are doing. I could care less of what the gatekeepers of the division are doing. All I'm focused on is at the top of the division, because I am the top of the mountain. When they talk about the best welterweight in the world, they talk about Colby Chaos Covington. So that's the only thing I'm focused on right now is Colby Chaos Covington and all the wins that we're going to put together this year.
I guess my thing is, it seems like a lot of people are beating people that you've already beaten to then go up in the division. RDA is the guy that you beat, obviously, last year. Demian Maia was a guy that you beat as well. Do you feel like it's sort of, for you, a little bit outplayed, the fact that people are sort of using these guys that you've already beat to try and make their case to a title shot when you've already sort of beaten them? And you did it a while ago, arguably back when people thought they were at an even higher level.
Yeah, I beat them when they were at their highest level. That's the thing, is I took their souls, and now all these guys are coming and they're taking their carcasses off their dead bodies that I already left for dead. These guys are guys that got completely destroyed and mauled. And frankly, their soul's taken. So, they haven't been the same since they fought me, and that's a guaranteed fact. So, all these guys that are coming off and beating them now, it's not impressive. It's not when they had their most confidence, like when they fought me, and I gave them even more confidence with how much I talked about them, about their country of Brazil. I trashed on that dump. All the filthy animals there were begging them. They were juicing them up, doing whatever they could so those guys could be a Brazilian legend and hero and save the day and beat the bad guy, Colby Chaos Covington. But it didn't happen. I beat them at their best. So all these guys picking up my scraps like Marty Fake Newsman and trying to claim like he's the king now, it's hilarious, and he's two-faced, he's delusional, and he needs a reality check, and I can't wait to give it to him.
Well, I can't wait, obviously, till you fight Robbie Lawler next weekend, Colby. And it seems like even other people are getting involved in this sort of, it's not really a back and forth, but in this, I guess, fight build-up. Pat Miletich, the legendary Pat Miletich, tweeted, "Robbie doesn't talk trash, but he has been known to hospitalize everyone who does. Keep feeding the monster, Colby." Did you see that tweet, and what did you think of that?
Yeah, of course I saw that tweet, and the first thing I did, I started laughing, and I just started thinking about Pat being so much up in his feelings, like I said facts. I didn't say any lies. There's not one thing that I said was a lie. Everything I say is facts and truth. So if he can't handle the facts, then that's not my fault. I'm sorry that he's in his feelings. But the funniest thing about it that I have to laugh is that, okay, if I didn't talk shit, are you saying Robbie's not going to try and put me in the hospital, Pat? Like, get your story right. He's going to try and put me in the hospital either way. So what does it matter if I try and rile him up and bring out the dog in him? I want the best Robbie Lawler. That's why I'm doing this. I want to see the best ruthless Robbie Lawler. And I think we're going to see that. I think in his last fight when he fought Ben Askren and he left him for dead and he knocked him out in that first round, he looked physically better than he's ever looked in his whole entire career. So, I don't want to point to science or other things, but you would think at that age you wouldn't look as good as he looks. So, I'm prepared for the best Ruthless Robbie Lawler, and I'm going to prove on August 3rd that I'm the best welterweight of all time when I beat Ruthless Robbie and leave him in a pool of his own blood.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that actually about Robbie when we spoke to you on this first fight. Well, the fight was first announced that he kind of looks really, really good for his age. I mean, is that when you see him, when you see what he looks like, when you see what he moves, is that something that you question in your mind when you're going into fight him next weekend about, if there's anything dodgy going on behind the scenes?
Absolutely. I mean, I trained with the guy in his prime, in his early 30s, and you're going to tell me that in his late 30s now, he looks better than he's ever looked his whole entire career? And this is after he's taken the most significant strikes in UFC history. This is after all the wars he's put his body through. And then just all of a sudden, he's just on some super potion and he just looks better than ever. Let's be honest, guys. It doesn't make sense. I don't want to say what you guys know you want me to say. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to let the people speak for it. I'm going to let the people be the judge of that. But, I mean, let's be honest, guys. Like, you don't just in your late 30s just all of a sudden have a fountain of youth and you're just stronger and better than you've ever been your whole entire career. So, I'm prepared for the best Robbie Lawler, and I'm going to see the best Robbie Lawler on August 3rd. And I'm excited. I'm rising up to the challenge.
It's interesting because your approach for this fight is very different to what a lot of people do. I mean, Robbie Lawler is a guy that people don't usually trash talk because they think, he's not going to say much, or people don't usually have a problem with him. I don't think there's been too many people out there that have approached the fight with Robbie trying to make it a bit more personal, trying to get into his head. You mentioned on Errol Hawani's show that Robbie Lawler left your team ATT because of a picture they put up of Tyron winning the title. I mean, it kind of seems like you're trying to build an emotional response for Robbie so he sort of can react for the first time in his career. Do you think you're starting to get to him going into this fight? Do you think during fight week you'll be able to get something out of Robbie that a lot of opponents have never been able to do, and that's sort of get in his head and sort of change the way he fights on fight night?
Yeah, definitely. I think, just by stating facts, he's a guy that gets in his feelings, whether anybody wants to say it or not. Maybe he won't show it on the surface, but deep down inside that little tiny heart of his, he has feelings. And, that's why this is the Ultimate Feelings Championship. So, I'm going to get up in his feelings. He's going to fight me emotional. It's going to be even worse for him. He's going to get a worse ass beating. But this fight is personal. He besmirched Dan Lambert, my manager and the owner of American Top Team. He turned his back on us, man. That's the truth. That's facts. He left because of a picture. Let's be honest. A fucking picture. Like, what's the big deal about a picture? Look, I got a picture of the great Donald Trump. Yeah, he signed it for me. He did all that. I went to the White House. All these great things, but I'm not going to leave the gym because of a picture just because someone, I didn't like it or I didn't agree with it. Just if you're a liberal and a Democrat and you don't like my picture, it doesn't mean you should leave the gym or leave my house. You should stay. You should work through that. You shouldn't get so up in your feelings. So this fight's definitely personal, and I'm going to bring out the worst in him. I'm going to make him fight emotional. And whether he wants to admit it or not, he did turn our back on American Top Team. I helped build him up. When they brought him from, when he came from Iowa, and let's be honest, the problem is Robbie Lawler. He's left Arizona. He's left Iowa. He's left American Top Team. He's left all these gyms. What's the problem with all these places? It's Robbie Lawler. He's his own problem. He's up in his feelings. He's his own worst critic, and he's his own bad person. He tells himself stuff that, isn't true. And I'm just putting facts in his face. And if he has a hard time with me putting facts in his face, then he can see me in that octagon and he can tell me how he feels.
I'm curious because you mentioned how you worked with him, you've seen him behind the scenes. You shared that crazy story about him leaving the gym over a photo. And I've watched some interviews with him leading into this fight. And when people ask him about you, it's almost like he doesn't even know who you are. He doesn't really even talk about like you guys train together or anything. Doesn't really acknowledge you at all. From your time with him though, behind the scenes, is he a lot more emotional than what people realize? Because, I mean, me and Casper, we've interviewed him before. It's hard to get a response out of him during media week, fight week. But behind the scenes when you're training with him, I mean, you mentioned how he left the gym because of a photo. Is there more to Robbie Lawler than what people realize when they see fight week?
100%, man. I've seen that guy leave the gym crying because I beat his ass so bad. So there's definitely more to Robbie Lawler. Of course, for the media, he puts on an act, he puts on this robotic look and he wants to, that's what his image he wants to be is, I just leave my business in the cage, and And that's just so stupid. He's all about that respect and that bullshit, that doesn't sell fights. And it's just, there's definitely more to Robbie. I've seen it behind scenes at American Top Team. He's yelled at coaches, he's screamed, he's had temper tantrums in the gym, if he wasn't having a good day of training. So, I think he just wants this image, he wants to be looked at like he just handles his business in the cage. But really, deep down inside, he has feelings just like all these other fighters.
Well, when you say he cried after training sessions, what do you mean? What exactly happened between you guys? Or what happened in those training sessions?
He didn't like the way this up and coming kid, was that nobody knew who it was, was just completely mauling him, just taking him down and just beating him up. He was getting ready to defend his title against Johnny Hendricks, or he was getting ready to win the title against Johnny Hendricks. And he brought me in as a southpaw wrestler. And, he was just mad that he wasn't getting the better, but we were going with big gloves. And I remember his coach afterwards, his coach Kami, he'll be in his corner. That's his head coach, would tell me, he's like, "Oh, Colby, that wouldn't happen if there was little gloves on." I was like, "Oh yeah, you think so?" He's like, "I guarantee it. If you get in that octagon with Robbie Lawler, you will be knocked unconscious." So I've never forgot about that since the day he told me that, man. That's what gets me so excited, man. There's so much backstory here that people don't know, but I know, and I keep it close to my heart, and I'm gonna make him pay for it on August 3rd.
See, that's fascinating. So is it kind of, does the rivalry extend to not just Robbie Lawler, but some of the coaching stuff as well? It almost sounds like it's Colby Covington versus Robbie Lawler and some of the coaching stuff as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he besmirched, Dan Lambert, so he pretty much, slapped Dan in the face. So I owe Dan that by beating his ass and making sure he leaves unconscious, And then also his coaches, he's going to have Henry Hooft in his corner, a guy, who I'm going to fight Marty Fake Newsman after I beat up Robbie Lawler. So, we have a history there. And then his head coach, who he's had his whole time as coach in his whole fight career has been Kami Barzani. And that's this Iranian wrestler that originally started at American Top Team. And what people don't know is this guy went to jail. He got like something with his papers, and he went to jail. And Dan Lambert paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to get him out of jail, to get him a lawyer so he'd get out of jail. And then he comes, and then when Robbie Lawler came to the gym, he attracted to Robbie, and then he made Robbie leave the gym, and he tried to recruit other fighters from American Top Team to leave the gym. And he tried to recruit me. I'm like, nah, I'm loyal to Dan Lambert. I'm loyal to American Top Team. So this is definitely personal, and people really don't know the backstory, but, this is a very personal fight, and he will be handled accordingly. I will make him pay for what he did to Dan Lambert.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I'm just getting even more excited for this fight, and I didn't think it was possible. Now, you're done with your camp pretty much. You're gearing up to do Media Week. We saw what you did at UFC 235. You had the megaphone. You crashed a bunch of media events. Obviously, you're fighting next week, but do you have any surprises planned for Robbie and the fans? Are you sort of scheming any kind of plans?
Oh, yeah. Chaos. The thing about me, the king of chaos, I'm unpredictable. So you just never know what I'm going to do. But I promise you, I have so many surprises in store for the fans, for the people, man. And that's what they pay their hard-earned money for. They don't want to see this boring stuff fight week where, it's just guys, oh, hey, they shake hands. Oh, I'll see you tomorrow, bro. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares, man? That's not exciting. So, I'm going to deliver a show for the people and give them their hard-earned money's worth.
Just as we let you go, Colby, you mentioned just before how personal, you painted a very vivid picture about how personal this rivalry is and how you want to beat Robbie Lawler. What would sort of satisfy you as far as how you beat Robbie Lawler a couple of weeks from now? How do you see it all sort of going down, and how do you see it ending?
Yeah, I see it ending with me finishing him. I won't be satisfied unless I finish Robbie Lawler. That's what I need to cement my legacy as the greatest, is to go out there and finish the last great champion of this division, Robbie Lawler. So, I see myself finishing Robbie Lawler. He can't keep up with that pace, but frankly, no one in the world can keep up with this pace. So, I'm honestly going to break him, and you will see a broken man next Saturday, not this Saturday. So make sure you tune into ESPN, because you're going to see the best ass whooping of the year.
Man, I cannot wait. And obviously check out the Instagram account for that little exclusive that's coming out as well. That sounds pretty exciting for us as well. Make sure to jump on Pro Wrestling Tees and grab your Nerd Bash 2019 Great American Winning Machine t-shirts. There's also a Covington Trump tee on there as well. That's at prowrestlingtees.com/Colby Cov MMA. Follow the man on Twitter and Instagram at Colby Cov MMA for that picture exclusive. And Colby, we cannot wait to see this fight. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining us here on Submission Radio.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure as always. I look forward to talking to you guys soon.